Alright guys, we're going to officially get going. I think this is about everybody who's going to show up. This is our first meeting. Everybody who's here has got some sort of interest or background or knows a little bit about this, but we figured we would finally call everybody together and bring everybody all on the same page, get everybody organized. We're just going to kind of keep it loose and just keep it general framework of what we're going to do. You have a little itinerary in front of you guys you can keep with you. It's got some information you can take home, basic questions you can think about, and different things. Let's see, what should we say to start? You guys have any ideas? This is Rhett. He's really stepped up and helped me out a whole bunch. She's kind of been like the #1 guy who's been helping us out here get going. And,
first off, we want to show a video that is put together by another lab similar to us. It's Biohacker, right?
Genspace. It's up in Brooklyn, New York. It's one of the very first Biohacker Spaces community bio labs that got started up there. I've had the chance of visiting it a few times, and I kind of started the model for this. There's a couple other spaces. We've included the links on the bottom of your page. There's 3 major ones in this area, meaning America. BioCurious, Bugs, and Genspace. Those are like the main 3 that we communicate with and have helped us out and get going. And, so yeah, to kind of get the idea and the framework of what this is, because it's a kind of novel concept of a community lab that anybody with little to no background or education or training can come in and learn and take classes of this. So we're going to kind of try to follow that model and that approach. And a really good way to kind of convey what this is. Like some people know what a hacker space is, but that even too is still kind of a modern thing. So we're going to play this video. It's 2.5 minutes, and it's about Genspace and kind of what the whole idea is. So yeah, let's do that. I guess we'll turn off the lights for this too.
We're located in Brooklyn, New York City, 33 Flatbush Avenue. There's more and more people getting into doing biotechnology experiments outside of the traditional venues of academia and industry. The technology is becoming more and more accessible. Information is much more easily obtainable, and at the same time, it's becoming more and more relevant in everybody's lives.
This is the smaller of our labs, and it's filled with equipment that's either bought off eBay or donated or on loan. We have a spectrophotometer, a PCR machine to copy DNA, an incubator shaker. These are mouse cells. You can't see them because they're microscopic, but they're in there, trust me.
Space is really at a premium. That's the hard thing to get at when you want to do experiments. Madame Curie discovered radium when she was working in France. She was complaining that she had no space to actually do this groundbreaking work, and all she needed essentially was just a shed. You can't order this type of equipment and these reagents and do this stuff in your bedroom.
We can do gel electrophoresis. We have 2 microcentrifuges. This is a bacterial incubator. You can see we've got some very pretty red bacteria. This is E. coli that's expressing a red fluorescent protein. See?
Most labs will focus on one thing, one disease model, one protein, one pathway. We have a number of individuals working essentially shoulder to shoulder, and all of these people have different skill sets. We have a number of artists. We have somebody who comes from a background in patent law. We have engineers. Because we're so interdisciplinary by nature, we're essentially increasing the probability that somebody's going to come up with something great. We do not take any intellectual property. Everything that you do here, just like in a hacker space, it's yours. So people are free to invent here without any worry that anybody's going to steal their idea or their invention. There's a lot of things amateurs, in the true sense of the word, can do to contribute to science and have done. A couple of bicycle mechanics invented the aerospace industry. Gregor Mendel, he was a complete self-taught amateur. We've seen it happen with the PC revolution. It sort of harkens back to traditional American craftsmanship, where people would start essentially industries out of their garage workshop.
This is Genspace's webpage right here. You can go to it and get some information and kind of classes that they teach, the kind of projects they're working on. It's really cool. They do all kinds of things. You can kind of just come in off the street and learn things. The FBI actually sends their field agents here to train, and that's the level of professionalism that's here, and the access that they can do. So it's really cheap in comparison to, you know, like a university lab or something like that. This is a much more accessible sort of thing. So access is often greater than ownership. So, you know, if you join the YMCA, you can get access to all these machines and things to work out with. It's easier than trying to buy them yourself. So that's kind of the same approach, is that it's a shared collaborative space. Some of the other spaces up here I'll just go through real quick. Bugs up in, oh look, there's Lorelei right there. This is up in Baltimore. They just opened up fairly recently, and they're totally awesome. We've gone up there a couple times, and they've been real generous. Yeah, there's a right there. Yeah, they've really helped us out too. They've donated equipment and reagents and all kinds of chemicals and things, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then Biohacker is out on the West Coast. They're one of the major biohacker spaces out there. You can just tell by the name, the kind of attitude and how fun it is. And their slogan is something like "Experiment with friends." So, yeah, it's fun. You know, they keep it fun. We'll come back to these in a minute. Let's see what else we got on the itinerary tonight. So, yeah, basically that's the whole idea of our labs, that we want to have it be I don't know, worry-free kind of lab. Like any kind of amateur can come in. Like there should be no what's the word? I don't know, apprehension or any kind of feelings like that. We're not the experts. You know, science has no endpoint or destination. It's a constant exploration. So that's the whole idea. And a lot of us are pretty trained in backgrounds, but a lot of us aren't. And we're very technical minded, or even art and creatively minded, but that doesn't mean you can't have access to biotechnology. If anybody's familiar with Apple and Apple Industries, how they started, if anybody knows Homebrew Computer Club, it was essentially a bunch of kids getting together building the first computers. And this is like build your own nuclear reactor, particle accelerator at home. You know, nobody did this kind of stuff. And they finally built their own computers, and then nobody knew what they were going to do with it. It was kind of this novel thing. So they got together and they kind of got, you know, messing around and got it to whistle a tune, and they got it to display different things on the screen, and eventually they learned to hack it enough to program it and make some really cool things. And then the home computer, the PC industry was born from that, from a bunch of hackers in a garage making Apple, quite literally. And that was an information technology. And you've seen what that's brought us today with iPads and phones and everything else. Biotechnology is the next information technology. That's the new paradigm that's coming up. And they're equating this time to essentially the time of Apple and the garage hackers. So we have things like Genspace coming online, where it's just a little, it's a not very big physical space, but they have all kinds of tools. We're prototyping our own equipment instead of trying to buy it at, you know, thousands of dollars cost. So much, the very first Apple was made out of wood. It was essentially like this. So, you know, we're kind of following in that model and that footstep. That's one of the tracks we're also going to talk about, is how one of the goals is to prototype open source equipment and make it cheaper, not just for us, but for other labs to also kind of follow the entire community. Like I said, we'll come back to that. There's a few things we're talking about. We're essentially ready to launch. For the last year, I've just been kind of acquiring equipment, going on eBay, buying enzymes and reagents and things. A few months ago, I ran into Red. He was totally enthusiastic about doing this, so he's kind of kept the motivation up. Ran into a couple other people that really stepped up and come forward and help us. And then all you guys, you know, have been expressing interest. So it's really kind of going into full gear. We essentially have everything more or less to start experimenting and start doing things. So we're really at the launching point. So we're saying probably a big launch date around August, early September to be official, open to the public, open to the community. We're going to do a smaller members first to get that going, and then once we open it up, that's when we'll just be like weekly schedules and everything, which we'll come back to. The lab is right over here. We'll be able to walk through it and show you some of the equipment and things we're doing later on tonight. Let's see. Before we go into detail about things, anything you want to add yet? Or,
Not yet.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go into some of the things. So we told you a little bit about the Biohacker Spaces that are popping up all over. I think we're the first in Virginia. I'm pretty confident we are. These things are. It's going to be big. There's going to be one in every city eventually, like a hacker space. Some of the projects people have done in the past. There's a competition held every year up at MIT called Igem, International Genetically Engineered Machines Competition. And they use these BioBricks. We'll be going over that, and that's what we'll be using. They're kind of like Lego blocks for engineering biological things. They're modular, standardized parts that we can kind of plug together and build up. It's like, oh, I need a chemical sensor. I need a glow-in-the-dark gene. You can just kind of program them up. Yeah, it's really that easy. And it's smell like bananas. And
drag and drop almost.
Yeah, and there's a guy we know who's making a genome compiler, which is just a graphical interface where it's just like you just drag and drop and then you just hit synthesize and you drag it to the cart and they FedEx you your DNA and that's your synthetic organism right there, and you boot up your software in your computer and see if it runs. And so that's what I mean. It really is an IT industry, and it's self-replicating nanotechnology. So. Yeah, unlike a computer, these things replicate and these things can change, and the software builds the hardware. So it's really up to your imagination and what information can really contain and build. So it's going to be an interesting field. But some of the examples of what, like these Igem projects they've done in the past, and to show how it's modular and standardized engineering. I forget which team, but a certain team, they found a cell and it had arsenic pumps, heavy metal, and it could pump arsenic in and out of the cell. So they deactivated the out pump, and only had the in pump. And now you have a biofilter. It's collecting arsenic from the environment and accumulating it into a cell. Very cool stuff. They got recognition for that. But because it's standardized engineering, other people can take your work and build on top of it. So I believe it was UVA. They saw this and they're like, this is really interesting. So they added a sensor to it. So when it got enough arsenic in it and it became full, there was a buoyancy device that triggered on once it passed a certain threshold, and the cell inflated and it would float up to the top of the water so it could be easily skimmed off. And the rest of the cells that are working are dividing and they continue to go. So you have a way now of finding which cells are full and which ones can keep growing and dividing. So anything you want, you can build off of other people's work, or take something inappropriate to something else, or just change out the sensors, because they're modular, and it's like a Lego block. So it's like, why not just unplug this and plug this in? And so this whole catalog of parts, there's literally a magazine full of these parts. It's growing all the time, and you can just order it whatever you want. And as soon as you have a copy of it, either on the PCR or in cells, you can grow up an infinite amount that you want and just keep playing with this and put it in however you want. So those are just some ideas to get the wheel spinning. Something we really want to do is it's really easy to transform moss. Like the grass looks mossy stuff. And you can get moss to grow on brick walls, like some of you guys have seen the moss graffiti. So you can get it to glow different colors, and you can put conditional statements in there, like logical programming, so it only glows at night, so it's not wasting its energy in the daytime. And you can get it to smell different smells, like bananas or wintergreen or something like that, from different environmental triggers. So you can have a really cool mural with different colors on the wall somewhere, and that's kind of one of the projects we've been thinking about doing over down at Alchemy, which brings me to the next thing. We're here for right now, but how many people know what Alchemy is, or at least have heard of it? Have been there, maybe? Okay, well, right down the street, Alchemy is part of the arts district that's starting up. If you don't know, there's also an arts district that is now in formation. They're an art commune, sort of mixed media it's hard to explain, but more of a rugged workshop place, and that's more of a better fit for us. So eventually we're going to move down there, and we've paired with them. They're still in the process of building out, so that's about all I can say about that, because there's no real official dates or anything yet. But eventually we will move down there. It'll be a bigger space, more to do. Let's see. So some of the tracks that we're going to do, we're going to have a workshops where you can come in and be total noob, and it's like learn how to pipette, learn how to run gel electrophoresis, and we're going to eventually get a calendar together. So like every third Friday it's going to be this day, or PCR class, or something like that. We're going to eventually have it working, and the way we're going to have it set up is if you take it one time, that's it, you know, that's cool. But also if you want to come in and use it more often, you can get certified on the machine by taking this class, and then be checked off. Now you know how to run it, and you can come in and then, you know, run a gel or whatever you want to do. Which leads me to the second thing. There's going to be a membership track as well. So if you pay a monthly fee, you'll have all access to anything. You'll have a door code. We won't be in here, but you know, you'll have access to the lab at whatever hours it'll be available, and you'll be able to do whatever your heart desires. And you'll have maybe a space to keep some of your things there, and it'll be more of a personalized thing. You'll be a scientist that works there whenever you feel fun. And the whole point of that is to encourage innovation. There's no purpose behind your experiments. There's no reason for your research. You just kind of think it's neat, or there's, you know, you just kind of want to play with something. That's the end right there. If you want to get more information, basically we can leave that early. If you want to get more information on something, or if you're in, say you're at TCC and you know, you don't really get a lot of time to run gel electrophoresis, and you know, they already made the gel for you or something, you want to really learn more, you can come here and run it, you know, 5-6 times before your test and really get in and out. And then that's it, you know, you never come in. So it'd be kind of like a part tutor sort of thing. So if you really feel confident in this, or if you want to feel like taking the initiative to be a teacher or something like that, Red has already expressed interest. We're going to need people to kind of lead these things. So if you feel like that's part of you, that'll be cool as well. We'll talk about that, you know, one-on-one. Let's see. One of the things, coming back to open source hardware, that's kind of an initiative that I'm trying to do on my own. Emerson here, if you want to come up here, he's an engineer, mechanical engineer. He's been helping me prototype certain things. So what we essentially want to do is come up with methods so we can sell kits. So not only are we a lab, but we have our own product line of biotechnology that we can sell. I'll let you. Right, which and that can supplement membership fees and things, so we can keep it cheap. Real quick about the membership, this stuff is not cheap, but the demographic that we're targeting is like college kids and, you know, people in their mid-20s or even teenagers, and we're all broke. So we're not trying to nickel and dime you either. So we're going to try to keep membership as cheap as we can, but enough to pay for chemicals and things like that. I've already dropped a whole bunch of money just getting started, and we're starting to get more, but we'll come back to that. Hardware.
Right, so is anyone familiar with Arduino, the open source computing platform? It's like
I wish we
yeah,
could
Raspberry
stack
Pi,
it.
very similar to the same thing. So what we're trying to do is with this open source biohacker hardware is that we want to be able to produce this hardware to sell to make like these kits or whatever, so we can make something for the lab. At the same time, opening up so that they can innovate with it and also build it themselves. So let's say, you know, for instance, inside this box, if we can open this up. We've got a Dremel inside of here.
That's the better.
Yeah. So it's very simple. So that's it's simply a Dremel that's powered by an Arduino board. So pass this around. That's a Arduino board. That's just an LCD display. What you can do is dramatically cut the costs and open up the level of innovation that exists in the hardware side. So I know nothing about I know that plants make oxygen, and that's about it. But I do love the technical side of things. I think the most interesting aspect of what I've seen so far is making glow-in-the-dark plants. Sounds awesome. I think that was like the first thing that got me like completely interested in this project. So that's basically what we're trying to do, is simply open source it to the level that we can provide it cheaper if they want to buy the kit, and at the same time, they want to build on their own and learn more about it, they can absolutely do that. There's a project today that this is a perfect example. Arduino board completely open source. There's a guy, he's running an Indiegogo campaign, building an Arduino board called the Leonardo, and we're off Leonardo, and it's the exact same thing for $12 instead of $25. So he eats all the profit that Arduino would receive from it. So yeah, we'll be doing something very similar to that. Kind of take it a little bit slowly on that end. I mean, hopefully we'll be able to do something for the next, what do you think, like 6 months? We would do at least one.
Yeah. You guys familiar with TED.com? TED Talks, there's a great TED Talk on Arduino boards and all the projects.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, absolutely. Watch that. I'm going to pull it up.
Cool. Yeah. No, that's like a 15-minute talk.
But
It's great. It's great. There's also, if we're going to go to tech or TED, there's a lot on biotech, biohacking. Ellen Jorgensen, she helped start Genspace. She's got a talk about how you can be a total noob or like an 8-year-old kid and come in and do this kind of stuff, and they encourage it. There's a couple other TED Talks that they're all about just like this DIY amateur biology sort of movement. I'll send them to you later. That being said, there's a Facebook page, BioLogik's Labs on Facebook. Recently we just opened up more social media. We got a Tumblr as of last night and a Twitter as of last week. I don't really use this stuff that much. Facebook is too much for me already. But yeah, right. Yeah, I sound like an old man, right? Yeah. But all the times. Yeah. But the more social media platform we have, the more exposure we have and that sort of thing. Allison, she's not here tonight. She's really kind of stepped up and got the logistics and the paperwork side of things going. She's kind of running all those things. Bringing up her, there's a Google Drive account too. I'll add you guys to it if you're interested. She's kind of collated everything together, all the information about equipment and expenses and keeping our paperwork together. We're trying to become a little more formal and official and have good framework for like mission statements and goals and settings written down, so there's somewhere you can point to that's a paragraph about our charter or mission statement. Let me keep going through and look at this real quick.
Do you mind if I say
Yeah. Go on, hop up. Yeah.
You mentioned glowing plants a second ago, and essentially what we've tried to fund in bulk so we can do a lot of right from the start is genetically modify E. coli to glow in the dark. And we have a gene that is from some other organism.
Bugs gave it to us. It's from
it's sent from bugs in Baltimore. And
thanks, man.
essentially we want to. Hey, you guys have a good night.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely be in touch.
Real quick, hey, I'll come back. You want to just quickly introduce yourself and say kind of what your background is? This guy's awesome right here.
My name is Richard. Sorry. What's your name? Jacob.
Marisa.
I was a bio major, worked in pharmaceuticals for a couple of years, and now work at quality control at a CB company. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in getting back into the science side of things. So it's kind of making it fun and not fun at being a job. It's all good. But if you have any bio-related questions, definitely shoot them to me.
Did you do the post about the mycology?
Yeah. And for your autoclave, I have like a 20 or 31 or 32 quart pressure cooker.
Cool.
So it gets up to 20,
Right.
but you only need to run it to like 15 then.
Right, yeah.
You just need to get like a hot one.
Yeah, we're looking for a pressure cooker to just kind of hack it to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you wouldn't even need to hack it. You could just like
Just set it and run.
set it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's biological waste, definitely. a number of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to run. If you guys want, I'm having a birthday party tonight.
Yeah.
So that's why I gotta run. Yeah, I'll text you. Happy birthday. Yeah, no, it's my birthday. It's at my house.
How old are you?
25.
Yeah. Awesome. Congratulations and happy birthday.
Yeah, just hit me up. Alright. Definitely get my birthday.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
He's 20, no.
It's cool.
I get food.
Thanks.
No.
Well, yeah, like we mentioned, the first thing we want to do is make E. coli glow in the dark. And we're going to take a gene from another organism that the gene was sent to us from bugs, and we have a very small vial of it. And basically, we're going to chop open the DNA, the circular plasmid DNA from E. coli, insert the gene, sew it back up, and then run it through PCR or just culture it to get it to grow, and we'll have, these film of bacteria on a petri dish or whatever have you that will glow in the dark. And that's the first thing we want to do is make something that doesn't glow in the dark, glow in the dark, like altering its DNA.
And that's just the basic steps to transform a cell. You can do that with anything then. It's just really easy to see it glowing in the dark macroscopically.
Is
I gotta
there a
put
lot of
these-
stuff that...
Yeah, I gotta put these back in the freezer. They can only stay out for a minute. But we have 22 different cell lines of E. coli right here. And this is essentially an Arduino board. It's your basic prototyping blank slate. This is the same thing in the biotech world. What he's saying, how to splice open the genes and everything. These are all our restriction enzymes, all of our buffers, all of our DNTPs to run the PCR. This is everything. Taq polymerase. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, others don't.
And for those of you who don't, we plan to, keep the environment in a sense of if you know nothing, we will learn you, so to speak. You know what I mean? Yeah, we want to teach people, we want to hang out, people come in the lab and we'll be there, somebody will be there to, make sure you're doing things right, make sure you're not messing up, and just teach anything, I mean, if I'm hanging out in the lab and I see someone in there and they don't know something, I will gladly just teach them, you know what I mean? And that's what we want to do is try to get people who are interested in science but never went to college, or they just don't have access to a lab or a good school or anything to be able to come here, learn how to do biology, learn how to do science, and basically become a scientist, on whatever level they want to take that. Jameson mentioned the centrifuge he's working on, and this is the gel electrophoresis box that we made, right?
Right, yep.
Do you want to tour the lab?
We can do that right after all this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, earlier he mentioned, Genspace, bugs, and BioCurious. BioCurious, one of the founding members from that, went on to start a company called Biotech and Beyond, which launched this week.
Yeah.
And it's a huge biotech company. The guy, he co-founded BioCurious, something like, what we're doing here, they did that. And then 5 years later, he opened his own company, Biotech and Beyond. And they actually talked to the city of San Diego, and there was a huge building, a very nice building that nobody was using for like 10 years. And they talked the city to renting it to them for $1 a year.
Yeah.
So he has a huge biotech company that he's starting, and it costs him $1 a year to be in that building.
What's really cool about this place is it's for entrepreneurs trying to start their own biotech line, not for amateurs. It's actually for highly trained scientists.
It's like $600 a month membership.
Yeah, and they have some really, it's like tissue culture rooms and stuff. It'd be amazing for us to get to that level one
But
day.
they started where we're starting now. And that's the big point.
Out of the same Biohacker Space, BioCurious, they one of their pride and joys is open source hardware, is the open PCR machine. A PCR machine used to cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars back in the day. Today it costs like the price of a nice Porsche BMW. This is a $600 kit. And you can make it for less, but they sell a kit. And that's essentially what gave me the idea of why can't we be a biohacker space with our own product line such as they have with the open PCR machine, and make our own equipment. So that's, anybody wants to look at it, I'll pass it around. But, you know,
Pass it around. You know, like we said, we've received stuff from Bugs, and we actually had one of Jameson's friends that he had known for a while send us a care package with a mini centrifuge and just all sorts of stuff to do cell cultures and grow bacteria. What else?
let me show that going on. Yeah, Bugs has been, Bugs stands for Baltimore Underground Science Space. They're super cool. They've been awesome and super generous. They've mailed us a care package. They've given us huge equipment back there. Some of it is old broken stuff that I think we can like easily get working again. We need to write them a really big thank you note. And
We've been progressing.
there's a lot we've been trying to do. This is like months ago. But they're trying to get together like enzyme reagent, not enzymes, but chemical kits that they can kind of send out and do things. And they asked us
if
to
you
kind
have
of
tools, you can just get this package and do an experiment.
yeah, and they kind of asked us to give a review of that and give us some feedback as they're all they asked to send it to us. So we really got to do that eventually. I think that'll be fun. Some of the other things we've gotten, my friend Nate, I met him, he worked for the EPA, and I met him here at NOAA. He sent us a centrifuge. A friend of mine, Jody, works for the CDC. She gave us a whole care package of some awesome stuff. A guy that has a TED Talk on this stuff has told us he would send us a package. Bugs has sent us a million things. I know I'm forgetting somebody. Some other people have given us stuff. So yeah,
A lot of support.
the community is really embracive and highly generous, and they
want to see us excel.
Yeah, people are contacting us and just coming out of the woodwork. It's great. We're attracting a lot of attention, and people are noticing us. And so all this positive support, I want our lab to really give back to the community and future spaces that are trying to open. I want to be able to step up and say, here man, like here's a centrifuge, like real
Give them
cheap for
things.
free, or here are the plans, or help them get going. Because man, like we wouldn't be here without them. They've given us some amazing equipment. I'll show you guys later. Speaking of attracting attention, there's a documentary group coming. They're called Dissect, DIY-sect, and essentially what they're doing is they're touring the country and they're going to all these biohacker spaces that are popping up. It's relatively a new thing, and they're going to go all over. They're going to go to BioCurious. They're going to go to Genspace. They've already been to Bugs.
14 spots in the country.
Yeah, there are people that are going. So this is really novel. We're at the
We're one of
forefront
the spaces.
of the new field.
One
Yeah.
of those 14 stops is Northern Virginia Biologic.
Yeah.
And they're doing a web series on amateur biologists and want us to be a part of it.
Yeah, they contacted
We
us.
haven't
We
even
attracted
Done
them.
anything
So
yet, you know?
yeah, that's what I mean, guys. This is gonna be. This is big. This is where we're really attracting like scientists right in the everyday.
So much support. So much support.
Yeah, we're really knocking on a door, and that door's opening, and it's getting serious real fast.
So
So
how long will the space stay here before it's moved?
I don't know.
Whenever they're ready for us.
Yeah,
We
now
can-
we
we
can-
can
Nice to have a nice jumping off point.
We could do some of the stuff we want to do out of here, like just the basic beginner stuff, and then you're
Right.
creating tools over at the Makerspace, right?
Right.
So I mean, generally it's like we don't necessarily need to be at Alchemy, but it would be a lot cooler, like,
To have us set there.
right.
And we're
you know,
also
they're
not a
gonna
priority
respect,
for Alchemy.
You know, it's like,
Alchemy's got their own agenda, and we're going to be one of the tenants that move in. But we're just a tenant. We're not like their main focus.
they're trying to hook us up with a spot that has a sink in it.
Yeah,
So
we can
our
use
space
it.
will have a sink that we can use, you know what I mean? It won't be like here, we have to walk to the other room to rinse things out and wash stuff, and we'll have our own sink.
It'll be a little bit bigger than that room now.
And it'll be our own space. Like we came in today and there was like a janitor card and a vacuum and boxes and we had to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about any of it.
So one of the things that's really cool about this Dissect documentary is not only are they talking about amateur biology and these biohacker spaces, but they're actually doing that with the intersection of bioartists. Now, even in this very new, you haven't heard of it before, hipster bio movement, there's actually a new thing where artists, bio-artists are coming in and they're trying to collaborate with this and make a new scene with different polymers and textures and different medias to experiment with. And what is amazing is we're like exactly that, because alchemy is an art place, not a science place. And we're a science group moving into an art co-op. And Dissect, their documentary is about DIY biologists and bio-artists kind of merging in that crossroad. So I told them about how the arts district is just up and coming and how alchemy is just a brand new arts co-op place. And that alone they were excited about. And the fact, I think I'm guaranteed, we're probably the only biohacker space, probably on the entire planet, that's in an art co-op. So we're going to get a lot of influence from artists and a lot of creative feedback, such as that moss mural we want to make. They actually already want us, they have a spot on the brick wall they actually want us to fill out with the moss glowing mural. So that kind of influence, I think we can really play that up and plug not only alchemy but the greater arts district in Norfolk in this documentary to just attract a lot of attention on the art scene as well as the biotech scene to Norfolk. I think that's cool. They're coming at the end of August, so we really got to keep the momentum up and really keep the serious game face on. I'm going to Skype with them on Sunday, talk with them. We're talking all the time. They're totally enthusiastic and excited about coming down here. It's going to be awesome. Did you want to, I kind of cut you off in the middle of your thing if you wanted to keep
I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah.
Well, a big question for everybody should be, what can BioLogic do for you? What would you like to see happen at BioLogic? What would you like to get from BioLogic? These are things you should be thinking about, and you can present them to Jameson or anybody, and just anything that's awesome, like a great idea, anything that people want, we want to be able to provide. Education, classes, you know what I mean, everything. And then another thing, what can people do to help BioLogic? We could use old textbooks. If anybody has any laying around, school supplies, pens, pencils, calculators.
What kind of textbooks?
anything.
Math, science, physics, anything.
I collected them first.
Anything. I mean,
If
we
you want
probably
to
don't need
donate
any
them.
English,
I
anything.
kept my old lab book from my old biology class.
I mean, if you're not attached to it, it would help.
Yeah, they.
Anything you're not attached to would help.
I'll come back to the library.
We, you know, if we get some ways to maybe reach out and try to get people to donate money to us, or try to come up with a fundraiser or Kickstarter, you know, those would really help out with just equipment, supplies. I mean, you know, within the last month, Jamie spent about, I don't know, $800. I spent about
I think the total is like
$350.
$3,500, $4,000.
And Jamie just has so much shit that he bought over the years. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's about 4K. I think we've jumped into this.
And you know, the big thing we want to let people know is, if you don't have any experience in science, don't be scared. We want you here, and we want to help you become a scientist that you want to be. It's basically, our goal is to advance community science and help individuals that do not have an opportunity to do things actually be able to do things.
Science and science literacy. And that's the thing, we want to bring that intimidation level down real low. I'm not a scientist, even though everybody thinks I'm like Mr. Science, you know. I've only taken a couple of classes, like basic chem, organic chem, stuff like that. I've just read a lot, looked at a lot of videos online, taken a lot of online courses. I'm a total self-taught amateur. I don't know anything about this stuff. I like computers and robots more than bio. I didn't ever think this stuff was very cool, and I've started this lab. So that just shows that like you can know nothing or next to nothing and participate and actually do a lot of citizen scientists and actually make contributing work. I want to go back, as Rhett was saying, the textbooks. I started a little binder. In here we have all of our cell lines and things so you can look at it and read about them. They're slightly different. There's basic directions and sections in here of how to transform cells, how to culture and grow up things.
How to use everything that we own as far as, just slight on paper tutorials and.
Yeah, and you'll be trained in this. This will just be a hard copy. We'll probably have a lab computer and everything will be available online. But it's just good to have this here. All the chemicals and enzymes are in here, so it's kind of like a little MSDS. You can just look at, the chemical structure, what's the molecular weight, or it's just very basic reference sorts of things. Red and I, we talked about. We want to make this a very fun environment. It's cool. Tie-dye your lab coat and come in with like black gloves. But we also want to be very professional and have high rigors and high standards. So, such as reference and things, we want to keep all that professional. Going back to our reference in our library, this is what it started with. And then earlier this week, again, Genspace, they sent us a PDF that was like 120 megabytes large. It was 2,222, 2222 pages long. It was on molecular cloning, and it's like 3 volumes long.
This is basically like 3 textbooks that a grad student would go buy that was interested in genetic engineering and similar,
We're going to have these referenced on the
so
shelf.
much in there. How to use PCR machines, how to do everything.
Yeah, viral phages, dude, it's like
what different
postdocs.
strands of E. coli are good to do what type of experiments. Like we have 20 different cell lines of E. coli?
22.
22.
Yeah.
This book tells us which ones are good for which experiments.
It's beyond like postdocs. A lot of the stuff, like just the experiments you want to set up and run, are highly advanced. So this is going to be like the holy
Jason
grail.
printed this out.
Yeah,
somewhere.
we're recording. I don't want to get out of this, but yes.
Undisclosed location.
Yeah. We 2,200 plus pages printed.
I mean, I can imagine this being like $500-$600 on the textbooks.
Yeah.
So we have to buy.
So we're essentially going to start a
And
small
it's
library.
advanced. It's very advanced. Like we
Yeah.
couldn't read through a lot of it without, having to do some background research beforehand.
So, right, if you have any old textbooks, chemistry, biology, anything, we want to
Calculators, very big thing.
Yeah, even books on math, like Brett was saying. We just want to start a small reference section. Lorelai and I just brought a cool magazine, The Scientist, right there. Just anything you think is cool, you want to drop off, it'd be great just to kind of, let people check out. We might actually start a whole library section. Who knows how this is going to grow.
I think I have one called Mathematics for the Biological Sciences.
Perfect.
So-
Yeah.
Some
My old
curiosities of science.
analytical chem book at my brain. My organic chem book is mine.
I have a biology book
I
that's
have 2
like
organic
this
chem
big.
books.
Yeah, I figured we could go on eBay and like find used ones with like scribbles in it or something for cheap.
Oh.
I don't know.
Actually, what we should do is check
At the end of the year,
when a semester.
Yeah, at the end of the semester we should buy it for
When
students.
people are because they're either going to sell them back to the university for $30 or we can buy them for $40.
Okay, yeah. Let's see if there's anything else formally we could talk about. I think that's.
But as far as
covered
like,
everything.
what was I going to say? As far as like membership, the whole point for the membership is not to feel overwhelmed by it, because I mean, once we get bigger and more things start happening, then there's always that possibility that memberships will go down.
We want to keep
But
this
for me,
number as
but
possible.
for me, I would think that it was like once, like, because we're doing kids and stuff.
Right. Well, we're gonna sell kits. We're gonna
Yeah,
teach classes.
Because have we gotten anywhere specific with the memberships? I know there's a lot of numbers being thrown around.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
I would love.
brainstorming.
How long before you know, so that way we start?
We're still getting.
I mean, we gotta get like,
Yeah.
because right now we've just been dumping like our own money into.
See,
I'm broke, I can barely make it.
See, that's where I'm just like,
We're trying to help the
Personally,
everybody's
as a
starting to get
hobby,
on track.
and
So then,
Okay, Genspace I think is like $100 a month. Bugs is like $85 a month. BioHacker is like $100,
and
I think.
do you know potentially a number for rent?
Yeah, we're gonna probably look at between $400 and $500 rent.
So I mean, say if there's 12 people interested, we could probably do $50 at first.
We would like to charge $50 a month. We figured that that's respectable and cheap enough to keep people, but still make.
To at
I
least keep
don't think we
them
can go any
paid
lower than
and
that.
buy chemicals that we're using.
I think we're still going to lose money at $50 a month and just kind of, you know, but that's fine. I mean, I want people to come in and use this equipment and get trained and not have a big bar to entry, you know, 50 a month.
I think once we get launched, the amount of support we've seen from the scientific community is just going to increase greatly.
Right.
So who knows if, you know, we may.
So right now it's just by word of mouth, isn't it?
Mhm.
Like around the community, it's just kind of word of mouth.
And
So
Jameson's
it starts to really-
been, you know, kind of buddy with all these great scientists and individuals that are doing a lot of great stuff. And they message, you know, I'll hang out over his house and the Facebook messages will pop up from guys that are doing the glowing plants.
Yeah, we're well accepted and known, and we wouldn't have any problem communicating or outreach with anything like that.
I just didn't know if that had been settled yet, so that way, like, people who, you know, so that way, how do I put it? More serious people will start to.
Right,
You know
kind
what
of
I mean?
natural
So you-
filter,
So you kind of
right.
have people like, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. And
So I want
then you
people to
never
come
see them
in.
again.
Yeah, right.
Well,
So-
on the point of like outreach and stuff like that, Jameson recently told me that we would want to start thinking about a logo.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's what I told you about before. Yeah, this guy, he's probably gonna do our finalizing. We need two major things. I can't believe we forgot this on the list. Right. We have a domain, but we have no website. This guy might be able to help us with that. And we need a logo. We need some sort of thing. Now, our name is BioLogik, Logik. I like that name because it's like logical
Hey,
programming.
That's, you sure you want that or whatever?
No, yeah, we probably need to do that. I'll come back to that as well. Logo, so logical programming, you know, like math, circuitry, AI, that sort of thing. I want something for the logo to play in with that. I'm not an artist, I don't pretend to be one.
Just Boolean expression in the logo.
Right, something like that, right. Digital expression, logic statements, merged with biology. If something like that can be expressed in a theme, that would be cool. Like recently I saw the Sony Bio symbol explained, and like the VA is like the analog wave, and the IO is digital input output. I really like that because it's digital analog. Right, mind blown, right? Yeah. And so if we could incorporate some kind of cool design into our logo like that, that would express biology as a programmable, logical system. That would kind of reflect our name and our ideology. I know you gotta keep going. Would you like to just say your name and kind of like what you've done, your training, your background?
My name is Marisa. For anyone who doesn't know me, I don't have a large amount of training.
Bullshit.
But I've logged quite a few lab hours over at TCC, and then also back home at my private college at Drury University. I did some background in biology. However, I recently, well, in the last few years, I recently switched to parasites and bacteria. So I have a really huge active interest in bacteria and parasites. So right now I'm majoring in microbiology, so that'll keep going from there. I do a lot of independent study as far as, like I said, textbooks and not super, I blow up a lot of things in chemistry, so I probably need to work on that a little bit, but otherwise I'm very curious about the inner workings of the natural world. So anything that anyone's curious about, I just jump on it and try and explain and explore as much as possible. So it's pretty much, I'm kind of like a science boy now, I guess I would say. Whereas if something interests me, I get to the very bottom of it. So I love it. So.
And speaking of that, we're starting a chemical closet and a glassware shelf kind of thing. And there's no reason why we can't expand our chemical closet and our glass closet to kind of accommodate the entire chemistry line, synthesizing organic molecules, things like that. Right now, we're focusing specifically on synthetic biology, but I see no reason why in the future why we can't buy a hood and get, you know, some monkey bars in the back and some clamps and just get a full-blown, you know, organic lab going in parallel. Because we use a lot of the same reagents, we use a lot of the same analytical instruments to test things, it wouldn't be that much further of a stretch to kind of expand our capabilities. So that's kind of one of the back burner pipe dreams that eventually, once this is up on our feet and we're running, why we can't slowly expand our compass and our horizons to things like that. Yeah.
So, and that's Jacob. He has no science background whatsoever.
He's an artist,
Well,
graphic
that's
designer,
chemistry.
programmer.
I had like some college level chemistry class in high school.
Perfect.
Yeah, I went to school at the Art Institute in Pittsburgh for game design, so I have a bachelor's in that. Everything I've done is either medical related or edutainment related. So I've been in simulations at University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and I did a simulation for Carnegie Mellon Museum of Natural History, and made a game that goes to third world countries. Excel laptop, I think.
Yeah. He's a very modest guy, but he's got a very highbrow level of precision. That's what I mean. He's a modest guy. Yeah. But he's definitely highly skilled.
I'm currently in the Navy and getting out of summer. And I do graphics and whatnot and layout for a magazine for the Navy, but I've been implementing 3D. So I use open source 3D modeling software, which
Blender or Blender?
yes.
Cool.
I started with producing Max and a little bit of my Blender.
I'm sure we can definitely collaborate. Do protein modeling, 3D rendering or something.
I'm
Yeah.
done with that.
Yeah, there's plenty of room. Hi guys. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, no, thank you. Are we gonna do another one of these?
Yes. We were going to try to, at the end of this meeting, try to figure out what's best for everybody else. But half the people,
My meetings are open, I have 2 jobs.
yeah, we're all extremely busy. But I probably want to meet again in the next 2 weeks. It's probably some time so we can regroup.
Try and get some of the others out.
Yeah, a lot of people missed it this time. I think they just kind of completely forgot. We recorded it, and we're going to put this on air. We're going to just pretend like the tables are still full when we're talking, so you guys can watch this again later. We're going to remain official is what I'm saying. I think we've been running for just about an hour now, so we should probably wrap this up. You got another 2 seconds, and then we can stop it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back. Officially, as the lab, as an official entity, people have talked about, are we for-profit, are we non-profit, are we, what's this, sort of thing. There's a brand new thing. Only a couple states have picked up on it. Virginia is one of them. It's called a benefits corporation. Alchemy is a benefits corporation. 7x7 Makerspace, where we're prototyping all this equipment. It's a benefits corporation. If you haven't been by the Makerspace, I would highly suggest going there. It's a mad science workshop for everything. We're also looking at being a benefits corporation. I met with I think the only lawyer in Virginia that helps file for these things to come to term. He's right down here on Waterside Drive. He's awesome. What it is, it's a for-profit company, but it's kind of in the middle with non-profit. You still have to pay taxes and such, but profit is not at the main thing. It's kind of like you're a community good, or you're a public education, or that's your main focus. That's what you put at the forefront. So, biotechnology, like I said, it's expensive. It's not cheap at all. So if we can sell kits, do things like that, teach classes, have a profit coming in, that's how we can keep lab costs cheap and low. But still, profit is not the bottom line. It would be all about public education and engagement and that sort of thing, which would fit into our charter as a benefits corporation. And we get we get access to certain benefits and things like that being a benefits corporation. So eventually that's what we're going to start filing for and working towards that. I believe that's everything. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I think we covered everything.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for coming out. I think we're really sitting at the beginning of something huge. I've wanted to do this since about 2009, and if you're a good surfer, you see a big wave out on the horizon. You want to start paddling and setting yourself up so when that wave starts to break, it's going to carry you somewhere really far. Well, that wave is definitely breaking, and it's a giant tsunami, And we have been set up, we are in the ideal place, and we are catching it. It's launching us right now. Every day, the momentum is picking up faster and faster. And half the other people, most of the other people out there haven't even seen this wave coming. If anybody's familiar with Moore's Law, it's the doubling of computer power every 18 months. It's what allows us to have computers and iPads and this be the same as your computer in 1994 or something. You know? Biotechnology, the information rate it's coming in at is 10 times the rate of Moore's Law. That means every year in biotechnology is like a decade in the computer revolution. So the past 3-4 years is about 40 years of what's happened in the tech world. That's why this is the next IT industry. That's why this is, you know, the next big paradigm. That's why we need to jump on and surf this wave, because it's going to be the ride of our lives. It's going to be huge. I really believe that.
Computer tech bubble has burst, and biotechnology is the next one.
It's the next S-curve. Yeah, it's leveling off, and this is the going off point. And I'm not going to say computers are irrelevant or whatever, but they're going to definitely merge and be, you know, the next. It's going to piggyback on top of the already existing tech industry. That being said, we'll bring this to official close. Thanks, everybody. If you have any interest in the Google Drive, let me show you that real quick, the Google Drive account. And then we'll call it an end. I can show you guys this. We have a Drive account here, so we have such as an inventory of everything we have here. Allison's put this together for us.
Dropbox.
Yeah, it's like a Dropbox, but it's Google Drive. So we have equipment, consumables, all of our enzymes, glassware, things like that. We're just trying to get more and more organized. If anybody wants access to this, you can add your own files to it, your own folder. You can edit and change certain things. Just contact me, and I'll show you how to do things. But essentially, that's the last piece I just wanted to show you guys. We'll be in communication, I guess, in the next 2 weeks to meet and bring everybody together. Is Friday or the weekends probably best for people, like you're saying? Or?
Well, considering the fact that, like, how many people didn't show up for
Yeah, we'll plan something. I don't want to say anything official.
Friday might not be the best if we're missing, like...
Yeah. Well, I think everybody just forgot.
I mean, my sister, I'm sure, would have been interested. She had a weekend trip.
Yeah.
Most people said they were available, but then, you know, things happen. It was Friday night. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for coming out. This is going to be awesome.
I don't know what the secret is.
Yeah, we broke the table earlier. Yeah, that's it's over there. Everything. Yeah, this is terrible. Yeah. All right, guys. Let me